Hi, George Love, Jr., work number 40167. I was born in Hermosa, 1940. We moved to San Pedro in 1950, and I've lived there ever since. I started in May 1st, 1959. At that time, the sponsorship system was in place. My dad was a longshoreman, although he was an active and official in 13 off and on. And I had an Uncle Sepp that was a clerk. And at that time, my dad and my uncle put my older brother's name in and my name in, and it went before the clerk's executive board. And it dwindled down. My brother pulled out, my older brother, because he became a sheriff. And and I was lucky enough to get chosen to become a B-man on Local 63. And I started May 1st, 1959. That was the system at the time. It perpetuated the families we had down here then, but as proved to be later, it was unfair to a lot of people. But that's just the way it was then. That's all there is to it, you know. And I was fortunate enough I could work during the day and go to school at night, although that got to be burdensome. And in those days, you know, the first 2 winters as a B-man, we filed for our unemployment. There just wasn't that much work then. Not the way it is at the present time, and it has been for the last 20 years or so. You know, we weren't as fortunate then. The numbers were small, the numbers of members in each local. But that's how I got in the local. Before the strike, 71, I worked steady at half a dozen different companies because we were starting to containerize, and that wasn't my cup of tea. Because when I started, you went on what we call truck delivery. You would sit on a bench, and a trucker would come in and want something or want to deliver something. And the chief clerk would, pick you out. Everyone would get their job. And it was much simpler then. My gosh, if you were receiving cargo to be shipped out, you measured it because, the steamship line got paid by the cubic and the space it took up on the ship. And like I say, I worked steel. I went from Crescent to SSA to Matson, avoiding containers, but after the strike, even I saw the handwriting on the wall, so I went to work for ITS in Long Beach, a Japanese company. And after a year or so, I became chief supervisor. It was all containers, and it became a much bigger company than it was when I started. I was the chief supervisor, so I supervised the gate. We had a CFS. I watched those guys, the clerks in there. And we were the first company on the waterfront to work a train, double-stack train. And that was because the head of the company, Captain Asami, Japanese man, very honorable, very smart. He got the help of the ILWU because the Port of Long Beach didn't want to let longshoremen load trains. They were getting pressure from, Southern Pacific, Santa Fe, BNSF, and the Teamsters, because the Teamsters hauled everything off dock then to be loaded. So with the help of the ILWU, who picketed the Long Beach Harbor Department, and the pressure the Japanese could put on the port, ITS became the first terminal to load containers on trains and discharge them. And in turn, as a clerk, it made more work for us. We had the first computer clerk to load and unload trains, Stanley Lee. The guy was ahead of his time. He was brilliant. And after that, he appeared in arbitrations in San Francisco for the ILWU. Every other terminal that came online, is they would hire clerks to supervise the loading and unloading of trains. They would come and see Stan because he knew it inside and out. Just a brilliant, good man that protected us and made sure that we kept the work that we had on the train. And, excuse me, ITS grew and grew. And it's like anything, if you grow with the company, you assume more and more responsibility. And I was fortunate that they trusted me, and I enjoyed working for them. You know, clerks kept all their work then. We spotted the cargo in the yard. We told us, we said where all the cargo that came off the ship went. We controlled everything, and as a lifelong clerk, that was important to me. It's because that was our work, just read our contract. And it's disheartening to see what happened at other terminals because you lose work. And that's part of the problem today, not just with clerks, but with longshoremen. They don't read their contract. They don't know what it means or what it says. You can't get them to go to a union meeting. And they don't understand that this work isn't going to be here forever. There's ups and downs in any industry. And if we don't protect what we have, the little bit we have left, we're going to be behind the eight ball. We have to, like I say, protect what we have. I mean, even though there's 3 locals, there's a big discrepancy in pay. I mean, as clerks, you know, you're guaranteed 10 hours no matter what you get out of the hall or if you work steady. But the discrepancy, in my eyes, between foremen and longshoremen and foremen and clerks is terrible. But it's terrible too because as clerks we don't protect our work. That's a fundamental thing. No matter what your job, driving UTR, you know, doing a chuck and walk, you have to do your job. If you do your job, the employer doesn't look for somebody to replace you. You can't worry about going on the job and the first question you ask, what's my break? I worked a long time. Due to my own circumstances, you know, it helped me to work longer than I really should have. But towards the end, it really got irritating that people worry more about their break than the damn job. You take care of the job and the job will take care of you. That's what people don't understand. And if you take care of the job, the employer won't look for something to replace you. Any message I could leave with anybody would be know your contract, the safety code, know it. Be active in your local so that you know what's going on and you can discuss things with the other members and you can all stick together and protect our work because the work becomes before anything else. Protecting that, if we do that, we'll keep our jobs.